Hello and welcome to episode 4 of What Else is New. I am Kelly Green. Thanks for showing up. I appreciate the support and the viewers. We will start the show off with United Healthcare's Hunger Games and the murder of Brian Thompson. I'm going to share with you a slightly different angle of this story. Hunger Games and the murder of Brian Thompson. So as I was mentioning, this company, it had decided that it was going to send its poor customers, people that I guess weren't getting their insurance payouts, their go-to answer was to send them to this guy here, the anarchist cook, Keith McHenry. So this has been going on for a couple of years. People called from Hawaii, California, Texas, Maryland, Arizona, Michigan, Ohio, Georgia, Maine, and all across the Southeast. The stories were heartbreaking. Indeed, they are heartbreaking. I encourage you to check out this interesting little side story of the drama around recent New York City murder of CEO Brian Thompson. Please give that a check out. I got a lot of items on this show. I think there's 20 items altogether. Even if you don't stay through the whole thing, just check out the description of the video where I've left all of the links for all of this stuff. That alone is worth the price of admission, I guarantee you. But I'm glad that you're still here. I'm glad that you're checking it out. I've got up next a little clip from Whitney Webb off of her website Unlimited Hangout. Let's take a listen.
So in that book, basically, and I think this is very revealing, Kissinger and Schmidt essentially say that the real promise of AI, it's not in making life more convenient and all of this stuff that us plebs are told. The real promise is that it will forever alter how humanity perceives and processes reality. And so there's a lot of implications for that.
Yes, I would say there are a lot of implications about that. This particular episode on the Corbett Report is all about being repersoned. So how Whitney's been repersoned and stuff that she said has been repurposed for other people's means. And James Corbett also has an interesting story about being repurposed. So I invite you to check that out. I've got links in the box. Okay, some good news. Good news for a change. Surprise, surprise. Spending time in the great outdoors helps children with mental health issues, says new study. New study. This would be firmly in the what else is new category. Obviously, get outside, get some fresh air, get some exercise, get those negative ions, play in the dirt, get your anti-depression nature medicine. Do all those things and life will be good. Also, it's been found that children that spend time in nature when they're very young, they're more likely to grow up wanting to protect nature. So there's a nice little tip for y'all. Moving right along, speaking of nature and speaking of climate, we do a lot of climate coverage here. Obviously, you probably know that. And if you don't, hey, guess what? I do a lot of climate stuff on my show. Quick little clip from Dr. Gilbs, her channel of 11.8 thousand subscribers. I encourage people to check that out. She's a climate scientist, and she's also a little bit funny sometimes. So let's check this out.
There was a time, not so long ago, where Britain was a world leader, pioneering and developing the first, the biggest, the best of its time. Before you think I'm getting all misty-eyed about the empire, I'm talking about the UK Climate Change Act. Yeah, I know, it's the kind of comprehensive, legally enforceable legislation that you climate policy nerds get your knickers in a twist about. And this video is going to tell you all about it. And before all of you who don't live in the UK click away, which is 86% of you, I'm also going to tell you why this story matters for the whole world.
Okay, there's some good stuff there, and I encourage folks to check out Dr. Gilbs and her channel. There's something for everyone. Check it out, give some support, check my links to find her there. In other climate news, you might remember last week I talked about the Blue Ocean event being forecasted to show up very soon in the Arctic Ocean, where there would be no ice in the Arctic Ocean. Now there's talk about a double blue ocean event in 2025. So this stuff is happening very quickly. I encourage folks to check the link, go to this website, arcticnews.blogspot, where you'll read that both Antarctic sea ice and Arctic sea ice could virtually disappear in 2025. it's not going to be good, this blue ocean event and all the melting ice. You may have seen in the news, I don't have an article for it today, but in the news this week, scientists they think that they pinpointed why we've seen an even more sudden increase in temperatures these last couple of years, and it has to do with loss of albedo. So it's a loss of the reflectability of the planet. Less ice, less snow, less heat and light reflects back out into space and gets absorbed by the Earth. Pretty simple. Moving right along. Mother Jones. This was an article. Oh, I forgot that I've been meaning to tell you. I've been meaning to show you. As I go along, I've got all this stuff sort of saved up on a Word document, and I want to use that for reference as we go along. So here we are. Who's behind one of the major accounts promoting climate denialism on X? And it turns out that Wide Awake Media is one of the culprits. I almost got sucked in by these guys yesterday, as a matter of fact. I clicked on a link. It looked pretty interesting, but something was a little bit off. I think it was their shilling merch to raise money for their channel. It just seemed a little bit off. And then to read that, oh yeah, there we go. Wide Awake Media also uses Twitter to promote an online store selling t-shirts with conspiratorial slogans. Another way the operator has monetized their presence on the platform. So I encourage you to check this out. It's fairly new. Oh, there we go. Yes, December 4th, 2024 from Mother Jones. Please check that out and find out who is driving the climate denialism on Twitter. If you care, if you're even still on Twitter. Many people are migrating from Twitter over to the blue sky, where I'm getting a lot of my content from. Speaking of content, tipping points. More climate content. Well, that's a real surprise. This is also, what else is new? Right, Kelly? More climate stuff. Tipping points confuse and can distract from urgent climate action. I didn't read this. I'm probably not going to read this. It's a paid paper. Maybe somebody will synopsis it here on the internet. Basically, it's, I think, gaslighting people for trying to explain what's happening with the environment, with climate, and specifically using the language tipping points. It's not complicated for people to do studies and to tell scientists and climate campaigners that the language they're using it's too hard. People are having a hard time. They're confused. They can't figure out what's happening. Bullshit. People know what's happening. And if we didn't have the big oil, big business, and other douchebags continually trying to obfuscate the facts, it would be even easier for people to understand what is going on. So don't believe it. Tipping points are real. They're understandable. Something is tipping. When it reaches that point, boom, it tips. You can't stop it. Haven't you ever, done that on a chair? I won't do it on mine. It's squeaky and it's got wheels and it's not a good tipping chair. Where are we at? Oh, so climate activism. A lot of youth are getting into climate activism. And because of the severity of the situation with collapse imminent, and the blue ocean events and the rapidly increasing global temperatures and all the negative things that are going to happen as a result of climate change and global warming, youth activists are getting involved. They have more at stake because it's the rest of their lives that are now at stake. I'm on the latter third probably of my life, so it's not as important. And this researcher, this scientist, this woman, Carly D. Trott, from the Department of Psychology, University of Cincinnati. It can't just be the younger people. Exploring young activist perspectives on intergenerational tensions and solidarities for climate justice. So the young folks, they're running into a lot of ageism stuff where, they're trying to organize in their communities, and maybe the adults my age or younger are telling them that, hey, what do you know? You're just a kid. So that's happening. It's not a very positive thing. We need to listen to the youth and support them. So I encourage people, if you're in the activist scene or if you're into the youth and what's happening, or if you're curious about psychological issues and sociological studies, check this out. Find the link. It comes from the Journal of Community and Applied Social Psychology. Next up is the Climate Emergency Fund. I think this also came across my feed in Blue Sky, but I also regularly scrolling through Facebook and Twitter, where I get a lot of this content. But most of the good content now is coming off Blue Sky. So this organization, they support activists. They give money to activists that are into the disruptive, nonviolent climate movement. 137 organizations funded so far. So they're probably a good organization, but I'm doubting that they would fund these types of activists. I found this oldie but a goodie, Eco Defense, a field guide to monkey wrenching. Monkey wrenching. And this is out of the Anarchist Library. So if you're into something a little bit more hard-hitting perhaps, or if you're just curious about these types of things, I encourage you to check out the anarchistlibrary.org over here. It's in the show description right below here. Check it out. Click those things. Open up your own tabs and have fun. Explore. Up next, also on the climate change theme and regarding artificial intelligence, hogging the electric grid. Now, yeah, they want to get into nuclear power and revive 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant and build new nuclear power plants, and it's all just, it's horrible. It's bullshit. Okay. AI's carbon footprint. How AI is killing the climate. Okay, I'm going to subscribe. You guys got me. Let's see what they have to say.
Energy. Nuclear power has sort of gotten back into the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a really big trade over the last year, and it comes because tech companies are in a little bit of a bind because of AI's energy demands.
Amazon said it would invest $500 million in nuclear power. It announced deals with Dominion Energy in Virginia and a separate one with X Energy Reactor. Google's parent company Alphabet announced a similar deal with Kairos Power. Microsoft is also partnering with Constellation Energy to restart the nuclear power plant at 3 Mile Island, which was closed after a partial meltdown.
See, I told you. You want to get into opening up these old mothballed nuclear power plants and build new nuclear power plants. It's ridiculous. I'm not going to get into all of the details on that. Okay, moving right along. Breaking Doom. So not Breaking Dad, Breaking Doom. Did I say Breaking Dad? That's the title of one of my videos from a couple months ago. Breaking Doom. This is on medium.com. Wow, look at all these articles on Doom. Anyways, check that out. A lot of really good stuff to read regarding the doomosphere and the situation that we're in and the perspectives that people have regarding all of that. Here we go. This is new, sort of. Glyphosate formulations cause mortality and diverse sublethal defects during embryonic development of the amphibian Xenopus laevis. Did I get that right? Anyways, the point about this not being new, environmentalists and scientists and anyone with a couple of brain cells still functioning well inside their head know that these chemicals are not safe and they're probably harmful. Now, we found out in these past years that despite proponents of glyphosate and its brand name Roundup, which was originally peddled as something that it's safe enough to drink, bloody retarded. I lived in a small town, Craig, Saskatchewan, and one of the council members actually said that to me when I went to town council to complain that they were spraying glyphosate right in front of my house, and I wasn't really into that. Anyways, it's even worse than that. There's a lot of formulations within the glyphosate itself, maybe additives and whatever, that are causing further problems. So, long story short, we got to do away with the pesticides. It's not helpful. This is not helpful. Go ahead and try and refute that. Go ahead and fact check me. I dare you. I double dare you. I want to talk a little bit about my friend and Cognito. I know her through Facebook, and I remember starting to follow her during her walk to Ottawa in 2019 with her support dog to raise awareness about the climate crisis, where she then co-founded the Ottawa Climate Emergency Camp. She did this in spite of her disabilities, because taking care of the planet is the rent she pays for living on her. Anne has a fundraiser going on right now, a GoFundMe. She has, I think, 10% of her goal raised, and she's trying to earn enough money to build or buy a safe, tiny home, which she can then put someplace also safe. Now, it's especially difficult, and this might relate to the previous story regarding chemicals in the environment, but she has multiple chemical sensitivities and makes it almost impossible to live or be any place that isn't clean, that isn't full of contaminants. My heart goes out to her, and I hope that you'll have an opportunity to find her online and put a little money in the pot. Now, speaking of women that need our support, this story, holy cow, from a few days ago in Manitoba, Geraldine Mason was apprehended under Public Health Act, spent a month in jail after missing TB medication. So after this story came to light, the Premier of Manitoba, Wab Kinew, an Indigenous man, new Premier, he saw this story and he went to his officials and said, I did basically say, we're not doing this again. Give me the paperwork to back it up. So he put an end to this process, and hopefully it never happens again. But basically, somehow the authorities discovered that this woman wasn't taking her tuberculosis medication and locked her up, put her in jail. There was no trial. She was initially ordered to spend 3 months behind bars at the Winnipeg Remand Center or the Provincial Women's Correctional Center. She spent a month in jail, only allowed out of her cell 4 hours a day while incarcerated. She was also subjected to 4 strip searches. She wasn't charged with anything, has no criminal record, and described her time in jail as a terrifying experience surrounded by people accused of violent offenses. This caught my eye. Another excellent submission by my friend Michael Kalmanovich from his activist agenda. I encourage people to go to activistagenda.org, subscribe, type your email so that you can actually get this showing up. And every week, Michael is going to send you a fantastic list of things to do and learn about. This particular one, although it's happening at Edmonton radio station CKUA, it is both in person and online. The Justice for Real Film Festival running Tuesday, December 10th to Wednesday, December 18th. Next up, we have No Borders Media. This is a program, it was promoted and shared by a friend of mine. Again, I'm forgetting to go back to my... There we go. Okay, so here we go. I think, yeah, it's also from Blue Sky. Jaggi Singh out of Montreal. He had posted this interview that they did with Silky Shaw. Silky Shaw is the executive director of the Detention Watch Network and author of the recently published book, Unbuild Walls, Why Immigrant Justice Needs Abolition. There's actually 2 podcast interviews with her out on the internet this week that came in my feed. The first that caught my attention was from Truth Out. And I was going to share that, but instead, Montreal anarchist and real swell guy Jaggi Singh shared it, so I'm going to share it from him. You can find it on the SoundCloud, No Borders Media, and we'll give it a quick listen.
You wrote, I've organized around immigration for 2 decades, during which Democrats repeatedly succumbed to their opponents' playbook and positioned the issue as a national security and public safety issue. Yet, even in this climate, there is no escaping how surreal this moment is. It's basic, but tell our listeners, why is this moment so surreal? As someone who's had more than 2 decades of experience organizing on issues related to deportations, detention, and migration.
What you're reading from was actually a piece I had written like a month or 2 before the election, or I had started writing it then. And it was after, this last year when we really saw the Democrats move to the right on immigration in a way that was alarming, even to me. Like I said, I think part of it was that they were kind of positioning themselves as even to the right of Trump. To
the right of Trump, the Democrats. These are confusing times. Definitely confusing times. This video, we're only at the 4-minute mark. She was just introduced, and it's 1 hour and 13 minutes. So I encourage people to check that out. She's really going to go into a lot of great stuff about all the different things that they're doing to organize, and the wheres and the whys and the hows and whatnot. So please check that out if you are at all interested in the issue of mass deportations and the rise of fascism in the United States. Yay. Here we are now. I think this is on the same subject. This is from today. Amy Goodman. Amy Goodman is wonderful. I really like her. And Democracy Now! Is many, many times my go-to mainstream-ish source for American news. They do a really, really good job, and they're really coming from the left, and they got a lot of very excellent pro-Palestine coverage.
Trump's transition team has prepared a list of countries to which it may deport asylum seekers when their home countries refuse to accept them. That's according to NBC News, which reports the arrangement could lead to hundreds of thousands of people becoming permanently displaced in countries where they have no connection to communities, language, or culture. On Thursday, the governments of the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos said they oppose Trump's deportation plans. Panama and Grenada are reportedly also on Trump's list. Meanwhile, an investigation by the Guardian newspaper finds the Biden administration has for the past year been in the process of extending at least 14 contracts with private sector immigration jails across the United States and exploring options for expanding detention capacity. That's despite Biden's past statements opposing for-profit prisons over their long record of human rights abuses.
Is that new? For-profit immigration prisons in the United States? And the Democrats are expanding on that idea? Someone help this make sense, please. We're coming down to the nitty-gritty. What else do we got? Oh, it's been pretty heavy, but I guess a little bit of humor would be in order. So this, from our friends here in Canada, at this hour has 22 minutes. Enjoy.
We did it, babe. We finally left the States. We really moved to Canada.
Almost left during COVID, but this election was the last straw. No more right-wing fascism for us.
You the new neighbors? Where you from? Let me guess. Latte-sucking, gender-swapping, oil-hating Toronto?
We're not Canadians.
You're immigrants. Why don't you go back to where you came from?
But we thought Canada loved immigrants.
That was the old Canada. The new Canada loves Jordan Peterson storming the Capitol and telling people to go back to where they came from. Go on.
Oh, look, honey. Free Canadian health care. Hey, you can't just leave him there.
Not my problem, lady. Hallway at the hospital was full.
I'm fine. It doesn't look like it's going to rain.
Get back in the truck.
But Trump, this is tolerant, progressive Canada.
I will leave you here at the lamp, Helen. Mexico?
Are they gone?
Yep. Good one.
Should probably take that down.
Canada may not be perfect, but it's not going to get much better if Americans start buying up all the houses. Do your part.
Are you just gonna stay there?
I got a pizza coming.
This hour has 22 minutes. Sometimes they're pretty funny, and that is one of them. Once again, I want to thank you for coming on the show, checking it out. I'm going to go through my last couple of tabs of nothing in particular, and then we're going to land on Tracy Morgan, a Facebook friend, and to end our program today, a little bit of Christmas music. I haven't had any music yet in the show, and this is kind of fun. Her tune from last year, Ronnie the Christmas Cat. So we're going to leave the links down below. I encourage people to check that out. Check out all the other links, save them, put them in a Word doc, open up all your tabs like a crazy maniac like I got going here. And yeah, have fun. Share the stuff. Buy this track. Have a listen. And we'll see you next time. Okay, bye.
Of all of the kitties who live down the hall, Ronnie liked Christmas most of all. His sister and brother, they liked it as well, but he loved it more, it was easy to tell. At the sight of a wreath or the branch of a tree, Ronnie would shriek uncontrollably. Spotlight the goodies and Henry the gifts, but it was always the green stuff that gave Ronnie a lift. Now the trouble with Ronnie is when he would meet them, a wreath or a tree, he would soon try to eat them. His humans were cunning and crafty and clever. You won't get this tree, they told Ronnie, no never. A mountain of boxes they built up so high, atop it the tree nearly reached to the sky. But up the box mountain a Christmas cat tore. When the cat hit the ceiling, the tree hit the floor. Hey, Ronnie, Ronnie, ho, Ronnie, Ronnie, hey, Ronnie, Ronnie, ho, Ronnie, Ronnie. He munched on the branches and bobbles with glee, and said, silly humans, you can't.